All right, everyone, welcome in to the Intentions of a Mastermind book club. We are reading Psycho-Cybernetics Deluxe Edition, and we're having technical difficulties today, but that doesn't stop us from reading and listening and learning. So we're on chapter 10, How to Remove Emotional Scars, and we were reading 3 rules for immunizing yourself against emotional hurts. So it says number 2, a self-reliant, responsible attitude makes you less vulnerable. Don't forget, if you want to join us for the book club, you can become a member using the link in the bio. And if you have any questions, just the comments. All right. So as Dr. Holland has pointed out, the juvenile delinquent with the hard outer shell has a soft, vulnerable inner person who wants to be dependent upon others and wants to be loved by others. Salesmen tell me that the person who apparently pulls up the most sales resistance at the outset is frequently at an easy sell once you get past his defense. That person who feels called upon to put up no salesman allowed signs do so because they know they are soft touches and need protection. The person with the hard, gruff exterior usually develops it because instinctively he realizes that he is so soft inside that he needs protection. The person who has little or no self-reliance, who feels emotionally dependent upon others, makes himself most vulnerable to emotional hurts. Every human being wants and needs love and affection. But the creative, self-reliant person also feels a need to give love. His emphasis is as much or more on the giving as on the getting. He doesn't expect love to be handed to him on a silver platter, nor does he have a compulsive need that everybody must love him and approve of him. He has sufficient ego security to tolerate the fact that a certain number of people will dislike him and disapprove. He feels some sense of responsibility for his life and conceives of himself primarily as one who acts, determines, gives, goes after what he wants, rather than as a person who is the passive recipient of all the good things in life. The passive dependent person turns his entire destiny over to other people, circumstances, luck. Life owes him a living, and other people owe him consideration and appreciation, love and happiness. He makes unreasonable demands and claims on other people and feels cheated, wronged, hurt when they aren't fulfilled. Because life just isn't built that way. He is seeking the impossible and leaving himself wide open to emotional hurts and injuries. Someone has said that the neurotic personality is forever bumping into reality. Develop a more self-reliant attitude. Assume responsibility for your own life and emotional needs. Try giving affection, love, approval, acceptance, understanding to other people, and you will find them coming back to you as a sort of reflex action. Number 3, relax away emotional hurts. I once had a patient ask me, if the forming of scar tissue is a natural and automatic thing, why doesn't scar tissue form when a plastic surgeon makes an incision? The answer is that if you cut your face and it heals naturally, scar tissue will form because there's a certain amount of tension in the wound and just underneath the wound, which pulls the surface of the skin back, creates a gap, so to speak, which is filled in by scar tissue. When a plastic surgeon operates, He not only pulls the skin together by sutures, he also cuts out a small amount of flesh underneath the skin so that there is no tension present. The incision heals smoothly, evenly, and with no distorting surface scar. It is interesting to note that the same thing happens in the case of an emotional wound. If there is no tension present, there is no disfiguring emotional scar. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get your feelings hurt or take offense when you're suffering tension brought about by frustration, fear, anger, or depression? We go to work feeling out of sorts or down in the dumps or with self-confidence shaken because of some adverse experience. A friend comes by and makes a joking remark. 9 times out of 10, we would laugh, thinking it funny, thinking nothing about it, and making a good-natured crack in return. But not today. Today, we are suffering tensions of self-doubt, insecurity, anxiety. We take the remark in the wrong way. We become offended and hurt, and an emotional scar begins to form. This simple everyday experience illustrates very well the principle that we are injured and hurt emotionally, not so much by other people or what they say or don't say, but by our own attitude and our own response. Relaxation cushions emotional blows. When we feel hurt or feel offended, the feeling is entirely a matter of our own response. In fact, the feeling is our response. It is our own responses that we have to be concerned about, not other people's. We can tighten up, become angry, anxious, or resentful, and feel hurt. Or we can make no response, remain relaxed, and feel no hurt. Scientific experiments have shown that it is absolutely impossible to feel fear, anger, anxiety, or negative emotions of any kind while the muscles of the body are kept perfectly relaxed. We have to do something to feel fear, anger, anxiety. No man is hurt but himself, said Diogenes. Nothing can work me damage except myself, said Saint Bernard. The harm that I sustain, I carry about with me, and I am never a real sufferer but by my own fault. You alone are responsible for your responses and reactions. You do not have to respond at all. You can remain relaxed and free from injury. Thought control brought these people new life. A Shirley Center, Massachusetts, results attained by group psychotherapy have surpassed results obtained by classic psychoanalysis and in a much shorter time. 2 things are emphasized: group training in thought control and daily relaxation periods. The aim is re-education intellectually and emotionally in order to find the way into a kind of life that will be fundamentally successful and happy. Patients, in addition to intellectual re-education and advice on thought control, are taught to relax by lying in a comfortable position, while the director paints them a pleasant word picture of some placid, calm outdoor scene. The patients are also asked to practice relaxation daily at home and to carry the calm, peaceful feeling with them throughout the day. One woman patient who found a new way of life at the center wrote, "I have 7 years of sickness. I could not sleep. I had a hot temper. I was a miserable person to live with. For years, I thought I had a mutt of a husband. When he came home after a single drink and was perhaps fighting the craving, I would get excited and use harsh words and drive him to a spree instead of helping him in his fight. Now I say nothing and keep calm. That helps him, and he and I get along swell. I was living my life antagonistically. I exaggerated little troubles. I was at the point of suicide. When I came to the class, I began to realize that it was not the world that was wrong with me. I am now healthier than ever before and happier. In the old days, I didn't ever relax, even in my sleep. Now I don't bustle around as I used to, and I get the same amount of work done and don't get tired out as I used to. How to remove old emotional scars. We can prevent and immunize ourselves against emotional scars by practicing the 3 boring rules. But what about the old emotional scars which were formed in the past? The old hurts, grudges, grievances against life, resentments? Once an emotional scar has formed, there is but one thing to do, and that is to remove it by surgery, the same as a physical scar. Give yourself a spiritual facelift. In removing old emotional scars, you alone can do the operation. You must become your own plastic surgeon and give yourself a spiritual facelift. The results will be new life and new vitality, a newfound peace of mind and happiness. To speak of an emotional facelift and the use of mental surgery is more than a simile. Old emotional scars cannot be doctored or medicated. They must be cut out, given up entirely, eradicated. Many people apply various kinds of salve or balm to old emotional wounds, but this simply does not work. They must self-righteously forego overt and physical revenge, yet take it out or get even in many subtle ways. A typical example is the wife who discovers her husband's infidelity. Upon the advice of her minister and or psychiatrist, she agrees she should forgive him. Accordingly, she does not shoot him. She does not leave him. In all overt behavior, she is a dutiful wife. She keeps his house neatly. She prepares his meals well, and so on. But she makes his life hell on earth in many subtle ways, by the coldness of her heart, and by flaunting her moral superiority. When he complains, her answer is, "Well, dear, I did forgive you, but I cannot forget." Her very forgiveness becomes a thorn in his side, because she is conscious of the fact that it is proof of her moral superiority. She would have been more kind to him and be happier herself had she refused this type of forgiveness and left him. Forgiveness is a scalpel which removes emotional scars. "I can forgive, but I cannot forget," is only another way of saying "I will not forgive," said Henry Ward Beecher. Forgiveness ought to be like a canceled note, torn in two and burned up so that it can never be shown against one. Forgiveness, when it is real and genuine and complete and forgotten, is the scalpel which can remove the pus from old emotional wounds, heal them, and eliminate scar tissue. Forgiveness, which is partial and or half-hearted, works no better than a partially completed surgical operation on the face. Pretend forgiveness, which is entered into as duty, is no more effective than a simulated face surgery. Your forgiveness should be forgotten, as well as the wrong which was forgiven. Forgiveness, which is remembered and dwelt upon, reinfects the wound you are attempting to cauterize. If you are too proud of your forgiveness, or remember too much, You are very apt to feel that the other person owes you something for forgiving him. You forgive him one debt, but in doing so, he incurs another. Much like the operators of small loan companies who cancel out one note and make out a new one every 2 weeks. Forgiveness is not a weapon. There are many common fallacies regarding forgiveness, and one of the reasons that its therapeutic value has not been more recognized is the fact that real forgiveness has been so seldom tried. For example, many good writers have told us that we should forgive to make us feel good. We have seldom been advised to forgive that we might be happy. Another fallacy is that forgiveness places us in a superior position or is a method of winning out over our enemy. This thought has appeared in many glib phrases such as, "Don't merely try to get even. Forgive your enemy and you get ahead of him." Tilson, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, tells us, "A more glorious victory cannot be gained over another man than this, that when the injury began on his part, the kindness should begin on ours." This is just another way of saying that forgiveness itself can be used as an effective weapon of revenge, which it can. Revengeful forgiveness, however, is not therapeutic forgiveness. Therapeutic forgiveness cuts out, eradicates, cancels, makes the wrong as if it had never been. Therapeutic forgiveness is like surgery. Give up grudges as you would a gangrenous arm. First, the wrong, and particularly our own feeling of condemnation of it, must be seen as an undesirable thing rather than a desirable thing. Before a man can agree within himself to have his arm amputated, he must cease to see his arm as a desirable thing to be retained, but as an undesirable, damaging, and threatening thing to be given up. In facial surgery, there can be no partial, tentative, or halfway measures. The scar tissue is cut out completely and entirely. The wound is allowed to heal cleanly, and care is taken to see that the face will be restored in every particular, just as it was before injury, and just as if the injury had never been. You can forgive if you're willing. Therapeutic forgiveness is not difficult. The only difficulty is to secure your own willingness to give up and do without your sense of condemnation. Your willingness to cancel out the debt with no mental reservations. We find it difficult to forgive only because we like our sense of condemnation. We get a perverse and morbid enjoyment out of nursing our own wounds. As long as we can condemn another, we can feel superior to him. No one can deny that there is also a perverse sense of satisfaction in feeling sorry for yourself. Your reasons for forgiveness are important. In therapeutic forgiveness, we cancel out the debt of the other person, not because we have decided to be generous or to do him a favor, or because we are morally superior person. We cancel the debt, mark it null and void, not because we have made the other person pay sufficiently for his wrong, but because we have come to recognize that the debt itself is not valid. True forgiveness comes only when we are able to see and emotionally accept that there is and was nothing for us to give. We should not have condemned or hated the other person in the first place. Not long ago, I went to a luncheon also attended by a number of clergymen. The subject of forgiveness came up in general. In the case of the adulterous woman, whom Jesus forgave in particular, I listened to a very learned discussion of why Jesus was able to forgive the woman, how he forgave her, and how his forgiveness was a rebuke to the churchmen of his time who were ready to stone her, etc., etc. Jesus didn't forgive the adulterous woman. I resist the temptation to shock these gentlemen by pointing out that actually Jesus never forgave the woman at all. Nowhere in the narrative, as it appears in the New Testament, are the words forgive or forgiveness used or even hinted at, nor can they be reasonably implied from the facts as given in the story. We are told merely that after her accusers had left, Jesus asked the woman, "Hath no man commended thee? Hath no man condemned thee?" When she answered in the negative, he said, "Neither do I condemn thee. Go and sin no more." You cannot forgive a person unless you have first condemned him. Jesus had never condemned the woman in the first place, so there was nothing for him to forgive. He recognized her sin or her mistake, but did not feel called upon to hate her for it. He was able to see, before the fact, what you and I must see after the fact in practicing forgiveness, that we ourselves err when we hate a person because of his mistakes, and we condemn him or classify him as a certain type of person, confusing his person with his behavior, or when we mentally incur a debt that the other person must pay before being restored to our good graces and our emotional acceptance. Whether you ought to do this or whether you should do it or can reasonably be expected to do it is a matter which outside the scope of this book and my own field. I can only tell you as a doctor that if you will do it, you will be far happier, healthier, and attain more peace of mind. However, I would like to point out that this is what therapeutic forgiveness is, and that it is the only type of forgiveness that really works. And if forgiveness is anything less than this, we might as well stop talking about it. Alright, I'm going to pause here today because I have so many thoughts going on in my mind. But I first want to talk about the last two rules of how to immunize yourself against emotional hurts. How are you ladies feeling about today's reading, though?
Absolutely love today's reading. So much confirmation and so much comfort in what we read today. I'll get into it as we continue talking.
Yes. How about you, Dominique? How do you feel about it?
Yes, I agree. Like I got a whole different way of thinking with forgiveness. I was like, okay. The whole time we were reading, I just feel different about it now. Yes.
I agree. So this first one, a self-reliant and a responsible attitude makes you less vulnerable. When the author was talking about like the person who is really soft on the inside has to do a gruff exterior, it made me think of bullies automatically. Like usually people who feel the need to hurt other people, it's because they feel like they've been easily hurt before themselves. And once you realize that no one can hurt you and that you are the one who chooses to be loving, to choose happiness, then you cannot ever be hurt by someone else because you take that power back. And you don't have to inflict pain on people that you think are smaller than you because you no one can hurt you first, right? So it made me think of that. And then the second one, well, the last one, number 3, to relax away emotional hurts. I totally concur with this idea of remaining relaxed, and nothing can affect you, because when you remain relaxed, you're really in the present moment. You're really able to just be. And I'd noticed that, like, when you're tense, maybe you're rushing, or your mind is elsewhere, whether you're focusing on what you have to do tomorrow, or you're overthinking what happened 5 minutes ago. You may be more easily influenced to respond negatively, because your mind is not in the present. You're tense, you're overthinking. Your mind is on that beta wave, right? And therefore it's easy to react instead of choose the response that is kind. So how about you, ladies? What did you guys think of these rules of avoiding emotional scars?
Y'all know what these rules made me think of?
What?
It made me think of a guy that I used to date like a long time ago, back in my 20s, really. And
Okay.
it wasn't, here's the thing. I felt like I was dating him, but I don't feel like he thought that he was dating me, right? So, and I used to be vocal about that. I like to say things all the time, like, I've reached out to you about this. How come we're not doing that? I asked if you wanted to do this. You always say that you need to think about it, like, or you have to see if you have other plans. And like, I just gave you an option, like, what's going on? And when I would say things like that, or ask him why he's not calling and stuff, he would say to me, "You making me feel guilty." And I used to say, "How am I making you feel guilty? If you're feeling guilty, that's because you're feeling that. All I'm doing is bringing up like what's going on. And you're telling me that you feel guilty about it, but I didn't make you feel that way. I think you might feel that way because you might know that what you're doing is wrong, but you like what you're getting out of it. So you're going to keep on rocking like this." And so it just made me think about how like no one can make you feel anything that you're not already feeling.
I agree. And you know what's funny? I kind of felt the same way when I kept reading the chapter, right? When it was talking about removing old emotional scars and true forgiveness, which removes emotional scars, right? Like, not to use forgiveness as a weapon, or not to hold grudges. And for me, it was the thought of also someone I used to date, and then the second person was my father. So the person I used to date, they according to normal people society, he did many unforgivable things and hurt me very deeply. And yet when all these things happened, I was very upset, I was very angry, I was very hurt. And yet I chose to forgive him, and that was the catalyst to everything that my life is now. Because I completely let go of every single painful thing that we experienced together, that, the things he did behind my back. And I was like, you know what? Thank God that now I know, and now I can make the conscious decision to be with someone who will respect me, who will love me, and be a mirror of the person that I am. And I was blessed to find that, like, not even a few months later. Okay. And then with my dad, it's been a little bit more difficult to forgive, right? I say, "Oh yeah, I forgive you," and then I'll get upset with him about the same thing a few weeks later. And I'll be like, "Oh, I forgave you, but here you are doing the same thing again." And it's like, okay, Alyssa, did you actually forgive? Or are you holding a grudge, right? Are you trying to, like, make him pay a debt that he can never pay? Because at the end of the day, like, it's not something that I'm doing because I want to feel happy, but I'm like, oh, I'm doing the right thing, right? I'm forgiving you, but I'm not actually forgiving. I'm not actually just forgetting about all the things he's done in the past. So yeah, just this was a really great chapter for me personally. How about you, ladies?
Yes, it really was for me too. Like when he said forgive and forget, like that really sunk in, because it's like, yeah, if you not forgetting, I mean, you just keep, reopening those wounds. So that really made me like, okay, that's it. But it's like to stay calm. And it's like when he mean by that, it's like, is he saying like forget, but just be aware and just, what not to do, like in a way, right?
Well,
Yeah.
I think that's why he brings up the story of Jesus and the adulterous woman, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what he's saying, the people always say, oh, Jesus forgave her. But what Jesus really asks her is, oh, did you hate yourself for the things that you did? And the woman replies, no. And Jesus says, well, then I don't hate you either. Just go and no longer do the things that, bring you harm, right? Don't sin anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that when you forgive, right, or even don't even make room to forgive, just acknowledge, okay, maybe that wasn't something that was very nice that they did, maybe that was something that really hurt, but now I'm conscious and aware of the type of person, and he also, the author also said that don't confuse their actions with the person that they are. Maybe that's something that the person did, and I can choose to continue to co-create with them and have experiences with this person, or I can also choose to no longer engage with this person. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to hold a grudge because they're not going to feel it. I am. It's going to create emotional scars for me and how I co-create with other people. So if I don't even condemn them, if I don't even hate them, if I don't even acknowledge the things that they're doing that I don't want to experience again in the future, then it can't bother me, right? Stay relaxed, and there's no need to have anything to forgive. So it's not that you, and if it's someone that you want in your life, right, like a friend, a family member, and they do something that is hurtful, you can forgive them, but forget it, right? It doesn't mean that you remember, you'd be like, hey, that really hurt, but I'm willing to try again with you. And then actually do that. Actually keep your word of trying again, but not saying, oh, well, you did this in the past, and like bringing it up later on. It's like a clean slate. When you write on a whiteboard and then you erase it, you can't get it back unless you rewrite it. So you rewriting it is over, like harming your own self over and over, unless you change.
That makes sense. That actually helped me so much. Like, thank you, ladies. Like, yes, yes.
Facts, facts. I so agree with that, Alyssa. And like another way to say it too is just like it helps you to set healthy boundaries for yourself. And because the world is real, people are real in the world, and everyone isn't coming with the same inner world and emotional stuff. So when you can set those kind of boundaries for yourself and maintain them in a healthy way, not in a way that is vengeful or a begrudging way, but in a way that is just healthy and honors who you are and how you choose to move in the world with love, of course, then you can forgive with ease because you're not allowing those things to have an emotional hold on you. Alyssa, if you talking, we can't hear you.
How about now?
Perfect.
Sorry about that. I was saying that that's the emotional scar tissue the author talks about, right? When you think about a scar, like if someone were to cut themselves, like a really, really deep scar, it creates this discoloration. It gets thick, it gets hard, And you have to take that scar tissue completely out. And that's how you can grow smooth skin again, right? As the author said, it creates this tension within us. It creates this chip on our shoulder. But when we truly forgive and forget, and we release all that pain, right? And we remove all the potential for becoming reharmed, then we can live a fulfilling life, honestly. And it really is our own personal decision to want to do that in order for it to happen. It doesn't depend on anyone else. It doesn't depend on the person that hurt you. It doesn't depend on our parents, on any external circumstances. This is all done internally with your own choices. So thank you guys for sharing.
Yes, but that's the hard part, right? That's the hard part, is realizing that it's a part of giving our power away when we allow those external things or external people to make us, quote unquote, make us feel that way, or allow us to hold on to those emotional hurts. It's like the "he did this to me" mentality. You know what I'm saying? As opposed to just being like, I played a part in allowing this to happen. Here's how I'm going to not allow it to happen again. And I don't have to condemn myself or him for it. I can just move on with this awareness and keep it pushing.
Amen. All right, ladies. Are there any last comments you would like to share? Go ahead.
I'm over here smiling. I feel like I needed to hear all this, lady. This was like, yes, I love all this. I have a new way of thinking on forgiveness. Like, yes, I'm gonna go reread that chapter. Like, yes. I really feel different. And thank you, ladies. Like, I'm so blessed to be here and to get to learn from you ladies as well. Like, this is very therapeutic. Like, yes, I needed this. I'm over here smiling and grateful and thankful, ladies.
We're so happy to help, and we're happy to bring this awareness and this beautiful book to everyone watching as well. So thank you, ladies, for being here, and thank you for being willing to learn, right? To come with an open mind and a new perspective, because sometimes people will hear this and they're like, that's crap. So thank you. All right.
Yes.
Did you want to add a last thing, Joy?
No, I just wanted to say again, thank y'all so much for everything. And I love y'all. And this is always such a great way to start the day.
Amen. Well, I'll talk to you guys the next reading, but I hope you guys have a fantastic day.
Yes, same to you.